Welcome to the Hopcast. I'm your host, Jeff Sherman, and I'm on board Milwaukee streetcar, the Hop. It's all about connections, it's all about community, and it's all about moving Milwaukee forward. Welcome aboard the Hopcast. I'm your host, Jeff Sherman. We are here in beautiful downtown Milwaukee. It's a sunny fall, crisp day. We're going to do the 2.1 miles on the Milwaukee streetcar and have a wonderful, entertaining conversation with Quentin Prince, who's the Executive Director of the MKE Sports Alliance and the Director of Youth Leadership and Student Success at Journey House. Yep. So we're going to talk about kids, we're going to talk about sports, we're going to talk about development. He's a champion for not only youth sports in Milwaukee, but really a driver to make Milwaukee an equitable place where all kids have opportunities for all sports and to be the best that they can be each and every day. We're going to talk about sports, obviously. We're going to talk about being dads in sports. We're going to talk about Milwaukee. And we're going to talk about, obviously, the Hop is about community and always moving Milwaukee forward. So Quentin has some wonderful ideas on development and it's just true champion in this city. So we're going to have some fun. Thanks for tuning in. Let's sit back and enjoy. Look around the beautiful city. Quentin, thanks for taking some time on a Friday morning to talk.
Of course. Appreciate you having me, Jeff.
All right. Very good. 4 segments we're going to do. Okay. A little onboarding where we get to know you a little bit. We're going to talk about moving Milwaukee forward. We'll do some quick hops, some quick questions, and then a final destination question.
Sounds good.
Here we are in the shadows of the Milwaukee Public Market as we go through the historic 3rd Ward. Just give us your story. Give us the Quentin Prince story. If you can do that in
How
like
long
2 or
do we
3
have?
minutes. That's right. You know, keep it maybe under a half hour.
Okay, I got you. So, Quentin Prince. So, born and raised here in Milwaukee.
Great.
I grew up on the north side of the city.
Okay.
2-parent household. I grew up on the north side of the city, but I was actually educated or schooled in the North Shore area. So I was part of a program called the 220 program, which allowed inner city youth to be able to go out to suburban schools and be educated. And so I went out to Fox Point, Bayside, and then went to Nicolay High School. After that, went to MATC and UWM. Originally, I was focused on architecture, and I thought that was the world I was going to live in. I did that for a hot second, but it wasn't what I was passionate about at the time. So once I got into that space, they say follow your passion and not the money, so that's what I did. It ended up going into education and into the nonprofit space. So I've been in education and nonprofit for the last 20 years, working with NPS for the first couple of years, and then Journey House for a number of years. So I'm very well versed in what the education and nonprofit space looks like here in Milwaukee. As I grew into my career, I added additional things in there. With me having the background in architecture, real estate investing and development was something that was of interest. So I've been doing that for the last 12 years in residential and commercial spaces. But another thing that I've recently tacked on is financial advising. So I tacked on financial advising because I saw that there was definitely a need for financial education here in Milwaukee in our communities. And then also working in education in a nonprofit space, it's great if we can get families and youth to a point of success where they're, either in a new job where they're getting $60,000 a year or going to college, whatever the case is. But I wasn't seeing the needle move as much as I had hoped. And one of those things that they were missing was that financial education piece. And so added that on in the last few years and been doing a lot of stuff.
My 10-year-old had a personal finance class in her 5th grade. They had a strict course where they learned budgeting. They got to put together a budget for a vacation. And I'm like, yes, this is what we need, each and every day.
Exactly.
So talk a little bit about Journey House first.
Okay.
For people that aren't familiar with Journey House and the organization and your role there, and then we'll talk a little bit more about the MKE Sports Alliance.
Sounds good. Yeah, so Journey House is a community-based organization on the south side of Milwaukee, about 53 years old, always been located on the south side. The kind of buckets that the organization operates in is adult education, so GED, ELL, U.S. citizenship, workforce development for youth and for adults, youth development, and then family engagement. So those are kind of 4 buckets they operate in. And my role with the organization has always been in the youth space. So I oversee all their youth development programs. And so that means all of their college and career readiness, STEM programs, financial literacy, leadership development, a host of different programs. But yeah, so Journey House is an awesome organization. Been there 21 years and it continues to thrive.
Nice. And so how MKE Youth Sports Alliance, when did that start? How was that incubated? And kind of what's the interplay then between the Journey House role and the sports role?
Yeah, so the MKE Sports Alliance actually is a collaborative effort that started back in 2019 with investment from the Milwaukee Bucks, Beta Philanthropies, America Scores Milwaukee, to ensure that all Milwaukee youth had access to high quality youth sports programs that benefited their physical and mental health. And so when they decided to create this organization, essentially what they wanted to do is they wanted to, one, unite the youth sports community and use it as a tool for social change, advocate on behalf of the youth sports community for resources and awareness, make sure that organizations understood the power of sports, offer training and development opportunities for youth sports stakeholders. What that training looks like essentially is we focus on social emotional learning, trauma-informed care, and sports-based youth development. The reason being, we want to make sure that coaches have that foundation to build off of when they're interacting with youth. You know, as parents, we're entrusting our youth to, be coached by this individual. We want to make sure that that individual is well-versed in what it means to understand what trauma looks like in a kid, what it means to have social emotional learning in every space, and then also what sports-based youth development is. I've been in the youth development space, like I said, for 20 plus years, but sports-based youth development is a whole nother animal. But what I like people to understand is that sports-based youth development is a part of youth development. It's not something that's separate. Too often we think that these are two separate things, but these things go hand in hand.
Right.
So, organization was created back in 2019. We have a host of members. We service school organization, community organizations. We work with the corporate spaces, and then also within the juvenile justice system.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, that holistic vision of what a child and what sports can do for kind of the development of the whole person is really important. It's not just about the wins and the losses. It's about really looking at the whole child.
Right.
So from a parent perspective, for sports moms and dads out there, what advice do you have for parents that are just getting into the youth sports game, if you will? Like, soccer comes fast and furious when you have a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old or whatever the sport is. What advice do you have for parents?
Lots.
Lots
right.
I need some of it.
So with the trainings that I mentioned we offer that to coaches and mentors, but also to parents. Parents are going to be the next phase of how we train. But advice I would say to parents is, please don't have that winner takes all mentality, because that can definitely ruin the game for the kids. Understand that this is a love or a passion of theirs. Let them explore that. Make sure that you are highlighting the skill development and the growth that they have when they're participating in sports. Make sure that you understand that your kid is a part of a team, and that team needs to operate as a unit. And too often we have parents that focus on their kid being the star and emphasizing their skill set, and you go out there, you dominate. But this is a unit. We need to operate as a team. But then also understanding that there is, your kid might not ultimately go to the league. And that's okay.
Right.
That's okay. So let the kids enjoy it. Let them learn from what sports has to offer, not just the physical part, but the leadership, the communication, camaraderie that all comes with it.
Yeah. So for the kids that you work with, a lot of kids will have big aspirations, like you said. Hey, they want to play high school, they want to play college, they want to go further. How do you kind of balance that, knowing that you want to encourage excellence in all phases of life? So how, as a parent and a coach, can you relay that to a kid who doesn't have the experience level we do, right?
That is a conversation that I have often with our youth and our parents. I say balance the expectations and the aspirations with the reality of it. One of the scenarios that I often give is I'll take a quarter out of my pocket and I'll put the quarter on the table. And I say, this is you, pointing to the kid. This is you. The rest of the table is everybody else who wants to go to the NBA or the NFL.
Okay.
The probability is low, but if you do make it there, don't forget about us. And just enjoy the journey. Enjoy the journey and enjoy the game.
Yeah, that's a very good insight. I'm going to use that quarter analogy. All right, I want to talk a little bit more about kind of global Milwaukee, if you will. Moving Milwaukee forward, that's what the Hop is all about. We're about connections and community building. If you had that magic Milwaukee wand, it's always a wonderful question to ask.
I wish.
What's your wish? How do you paint that wish for the city?
I would say Milwaukee has to be intentional about collaboration and building bridges across the city. You know, we've all heard the stigma of Milwaukee being a segregated city. That's something we know.
Right.
You know, I often want to just like tell someone who says it, okay, let's move past that.
Okay, yeah.
Because we have to, in order to see ourselves as a city grow. So, not operate in silos, build bridges, network, be intentional about our efforts, and make sure that our efforts are continuous and consistent. We can't, invest in a particular program or project or space for 3 years and think we've solved everything. That's not the magic wand. We need to make sure that it's consistent, and in order to, heal and grow as a city.
Yeah. So how do we, kind of, as a city, continue to better connect all of our neighborhoods? I mean, sports is a big part of that, right?
Right.
But how do we be more intentional about that?
I'm glad you said it. Sports is the largest convener out there. So I think, again, just making sure that we're telling a good story. Telling a good story about what Milwaukee has to offer. We have to make sure that we inundate not only the community here, but then the community at large, what Milwaukee has to offer. Telling a good story will definitely, help build those bridges, make those connections.
Yeah, very good. I often say, downtown Milwaukee is the economic and entertainment heart of the entire state. And when people come to the city, it's a little bit passion point for mine. You see baseball fields, places, soccer fields, pickleball courts, basketball courts. How do we encourage more kind of development of sports places in downtown Milwaukee and in all neighborhoods? I want a couple basketball courts in downtown. I just want to bring a ball and have some fun. And that doesn't exist.
Right.
Okay. Is your organization a part of those discussions when schools say, hey, we need a new field or we need a new court? That's a lot. That's a long question there, but just talk about kind of creating fields and courts in communities.
So the MKU Sports Alliance, that is a phase and a vision for the organization. Yeah. We have been in various talks with organizations like the Boys and Girls Club or the Y or MPS about what spaces look like, talking to the city about what vacant lots they have around and what can ultimately be done with them. I would love to see a sport or play space downtown for youth that might happen to live in the vicinity. It's funny you say that. I've been researching and connecting with an organization called Urban Soccer Park. And Urban Soccer Park, essentially what their focus and their vision is to create play spaces, sports spaces in underutilized areas. Okay. So you can, create a soccer park right here in this parking lot, and it's something that's sustainable. It's something that's low cost, and I don't want to say it's a low lift, but it's an easier lift than going and spending millions of dollars to create some kind of vibrant space. Yeah,
or some communities are repurposing tennis courts to make them into futsal courts or to pickleball or whatever. There's lots of opportunity to take existing space and make it more vibrant for kids to use.
Yeah. MKE Sports Alliance wants to just reimagine what sports looks like here in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
We have to be intentional about that reimagination.
Yeah. So talk about a project, or what's the most exciting project on your plate now for the MKE Sports Alliance?
You see the stress on my face?
I got to get back to work, come on.
So right now what I'm working on is a trauma-informed summit that we're going to hold at the beginning of the year for parents, coaches, mentors, anybody who's involved in the youth sports space. Bring in some local practitioners, but also some national speakers that are experts in this area to just advise and educate the community on that. Also working with an organization called Mentor Greater Milwaukee, which is a mentor organization that's actually attached to the Bucks. We're focusing on how mentors and coaches are essentially kind of like the same. And we're going to put on a conference at the beginning of the year for that. But actually, in a couple weeks, I have a sports industry night over at No Studios. So we're just going to invite coaches and mentors to this event, network, socialize, hear about what MKAU Sports Alliance is doing and how we can partner and move forward. So working with NPS on that one.
All right, very good. I'm going to put that on my calendar for sure. That reverse mentoring that happens in mentor-coach relationships too is so important, especially in communities like ours where the 30, 40, 50-year-olds can learn so much from the 15 and 18-year-olds. So that kind of intergenerational conversation is incredibly important.
Right. I think it also creates that succession plan. You know, when you see coaches at like the collegiate level that are in their 70s and are about to retire, who have they brought up that can continue that, journey or what they created?
Yeah, very good. All right, since we're on the hop here, this Milwaukee streetcar, how can public transit become a better component of driving the youth sports scene in Greater Milwaukee?
So the MKAU Sports Alliance, we commissioned a study with the Wisconsin Policy Forum back in early 2019. And we wanted to get a high-level overview of what the landscape of youth sports looked like here in Milwaukee. The feedback that we got, one of the barrier that most impacts youth was transportation. Above affordability of sports was transportation. So that let us know that we've got some things to work on here in Milwaukee and how it impacts every space. It's not just, the lack of infrastructure, but that lack of infrastructure is impacting how people get to jobs, how kids get to sports. And so if we were to have a vibrant ecosystem here of transportation, who knows what, positive things or positive changes can happen.
Yeah, for sure. All right, on to some quick hops. Series of couple questions here to get some further insight into you and the community. Let's see. What book are you reading right now, Quentin? I always need to add more to my list, so I ask good, smart people to give me suggestions.
I'm actually rereading a book called Race for Profit. It essentially talked about, with my background in architecture and doing the real estate investing that I do, the book focuses on historical things that have happened to specific communities, in particular the Black and Brown community when it comes to real estate. So I'm rereading that right now.
Okay. Very good. Do you have an insider tip for someone that's coming to Milwaukee for the first time?
Experience everything. Experience everything. I often tell the students who I work with from UWM or Marquette that are freshmen coming into the city, make sure that you get around and you explore and don't stay in the bubble of campus life. Yeah. There's so much here in Milwaukee that you can experience. Me, being a person who's lived here my entire life, I still find things that are new here in the city. So experience everything.
That's great. That's great advice for people that live in the community too. If you live out west or north or south, go to places that you otherwise wouldn't each and every day.
Exactly.
Like, there's a lot to experience in the city. Do you have a favorite restaurant?
I haven't had breakfast yet, so I'm kind of hungry.
Right.
I would say Riverfront Pizzeria is top of my list right now.
I like that. That's a good spot. And just up near Summerfest in the historic Third Ward. Favorite podcast?
Earn Your Leisure. So Earn Your Leisure is a financial literacy or financial education, real estate, and investing podcast.
Okay, very good. One word that describes you the best?
I've been called a rogue or maverick.
I like that. All right. So here's a question I heard recently. If you had a chance to read a book or watch a movie again for the first time, like something you loved, what would that be? You kind of erase your memory and go back and you're like, whoa.
Probably The Count of Monte Cristo. The one that came out in the early 2000s.
Okay.
It's a book about just like overcoming adversity and forging your path ahead and making a great life for yourself.
Very good. All right. Favorite city other than Milwaukee?
Dallas.
Dallas.
Yeah.
Why is that?
I've got family down in Dallas.
Okay.
We've got a farm down in
That's
Dallas.
good.
I've just
All right.
enjoyed my experiences down there.
Okay. Very good. Most famous person you ever met?
Obama.
Wow. Ooh, very good.
Yeah, when he was here a few years ago, he was over at North Division High School, and I got a chance to interact with him for about 3 seconds.
All right. Very good. Nice. All right. And then your favorite sport and why?
So I grew up playing baseball
Okay.
and soccer. I
right.
coach volleyball, but I like football. Football is my sport.
Football. All right.
Yeah, I'm definitely a Packers fan through and through.
Very good. All right. And then just our final destination question. Again, I always really appreciate the opportunity to ask this question, especially to people making change and doing great things in Milwaukee. Define success, Quentin.
I don't know if I can define it because I feel like success is something that, at least personally, I don't know if I ever want to like fully attain. I want to be able to strive for 10 years from now, my professional growth. That's my success, and then 10 years from that will be my future success. So,
Very good.
yeah, that's just me personally.
All right. Very good. Quentin Prince, MKE Youth Sports Alliance, Journey House, and so much more. This is the Hopcast, and we're going to swing on down and finish at the intermodal station. But I really appreciate you tuning in. A friendly reminder to follow the Hop on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Subscribe to our YouTube channel for this episode and so many more. And get downtown Milwaukee and ride the Milwaukee streetcar. Thanks for tuning in.
Awesome. Hi, Milwaukee. This is Quentin.